Welcome to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. We hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving season. We're thrilled to be back live here tonight. Before we get started, we got a new sponsor tonight, In-N-Out Maintenance. Jimmy Bouchard. They do fantastic work, whether you're needing any kind of general maintenance on your home. He is the guy to go for. Please go onto Facebook, like his page. You're not going to find a better person in that field than In-N-Out Maintenance. We do thank them for sponsoring the show tonight. We are thrilled to have one of my favorite people in county government, Rex Lynch, who was just elected circuit court clerk recently. Really appreciate you getting out in the bad weather tonight.
Oh, glad to do it.
Be here with our viewers. And Rex, you've been involved in county government a really long time, but if some of our viewers may not know you, I thought we'd just open up with just sort of a little bit of background for you.
Sure.
For our viewers.
Sure. Just kind of my career started early. I was out of college, went to work at the Y12 plant, spent about 10 years out there, and had my first interest in politics. Somebody came to me and approached me about running for county commission. So in 1994, I decided to run for county commission in District 2, and I run against, there was about 8 of us running, and I beat 2 incumbents, and I got elected. Wow. So I started out as a county commissioner in 94. After 4 years, I decided I wanted to do more in county government. I was approached about running for county executive, which is now called county mayor's office, and I successfully was there for 12 years. So I've always enjoyed serving the public, and it's been a very good experience. I've truly enjoyed it.
Well, since 1994, and that commission class, some of them just recently retired, I guess.
They did.
Myron maybe was on that.
Myron Awansky came in when I did. There was George Bullock. I remember George Bullock here from Oak Ridge. Jackie Holloway, Larry Dickens. So I've worked with a lot of good commissioners here, particularly out of the Oak Ridge and the whole Anderson County area.
Absolutely. And before we get into what you've done with the circuit court clerk's office, which is, I can tell people, is just phenomenal, the turnaround that we've seen. I wanted to look back a little bit on your time as county mayor because it was so successful. And really, what were some of the things you were most proud of? Because you were there, just about 12 years. Right. What were you most proud of?
Probably the greatest accomplishment that I felt like was bringing water to the citizens of the county. I always took that for granted. I mean, you always go in there, turn your faucet on, you can take a shower when you want, you can wash your car, you can do dishes, it's not a big deal. But there was literally thousands of people, several thousand people in the county that don't have that pleasure. They collect their water off their roof. It's like living as my grandfather did, and I thought, it can't be that many people. So we got aggressive with grants. We got a grant coordinator that applied for some grants. The county, we had different ways to go after nationals money. And so we were able to put in water in places that nobody ever even considered, thinking we had an opportunity. One of my best stories is when I had this lady, and her name is Betty Braden, and she actually come by my office one day, and I was walking down the hallway, and I'll never forget it, and she was just smiling, and I'm not sure what Betty's age was, probably 60 or 70 years old, and she would just had this girlish grin on her face, and I was like, she goes, guess what I did today? And so I'm thinking, what, you had to spend time with your grandkids or something? And she goes, I washed my car. Yeah. And that was the moment I realized how important water is, or how much I took it for granted.
Yeah.
So yeah, water hands down. I think now we're at the county's at the point there's probably just a few hundred homes in the county that don't have potable water at their house. And
Betty is still around, and she still remembers.
She does.
I bumped into her when you were running for circuit court clerk, and she said he brought water to Lake City.
The Val Mountain.
Yeah, the Val Mountain. Yeah.
That was our first big water project.
Yeah.
So the other big accomplishments, I'm very conservative. I mean, I ran as a commissioner, even when I ran for mayor, on a no tax increase program. I was all about keeping taxes down, presenting no tax increase budgets, and that's what we did every year. By doing that, though, our fund balance, I remember the first year I started, our fund balance was literally just in the tens of thousands of dollars. They hadn't closed the books out yet, but they were. Wow. And so I remember talking to a county executive in Scott County. He was talking about how he'd start out, and after 4 or 5 years, he was able to build up several $1 million. And I'm thinking, how could you do that? There's just no way to save up that much money. But I'd hired Gail Cook as our finance director, and she was a real asset to the county. We were so fortunate to get her to come on board. And literally in probably 7 or 8 years, our fund balance grew up to the point, and I think at the highest amount, it was probably in the $7 to $10 million in our fund balance. Wow. And so we were very successful in that. And then also the debt reduction. It seems like when we came into office, the county was probably, $35, $40 million in debt, I'm not sure. But I remember at one time in 2008 or 9, we got our county debt down to about $28 million. And so I was real proud of seeing our debt go down. I'm not sure where it's at now, but we worked real hard on that. And it took a lot of pain because by doing that, you have to tell a lot of people no, a lot of departments, and make people be accountable for their services and what they're doing through the county. So our ambulance service helped a lot in that. We were able to turn the ambulance service around. So it had a lot of good memories and a lot of good success stories. But now I'm ready to move on to the circuit court clerk's office and try to make some changes and make some improvements there.
So, and it's a good segue as far as your service in the circuit court clerk's office. So you're in the private sector. What makes you decide this is the office I want to run?
Yeah, I've been out of office I left in 2010, and I worked a few places. I missed that the satisfaction of public service. I missed it, and so getting involved. I watched some county commission meetings. Still involved with a lot of the officials, and just found out that there was a real problem in the circuit court clerk's office. Start talking to some of the judges, and they were letting me know how dissatisfied they were, and that's something I never in my years of public service thought about working in the court system. And it just like I was just one night I just thought about it. I said, that's what I need to do. And so I started learning about it. I actually was fortunate. I got a job in the courthouse as a bailiff. I got to work for Judge Layton. I got to get my hands-on experience, see what's going on in the court system, learning the lingo, learning the players, and really could see some areas that I thought needed some improvement. So, it led to that. Next thing I know, I had my petition in. We ran a very good, successful campaign. I think we won every precinct, and I'm very proud of our win.
So we go to election night. You've won overwhelmingly, close to, I know it was over 65% of the vote. Voters gave you that confidence. But at the same time, you're inheriting a very difficult situation, which we won't get into all of it, but it was top story on WAD for a couple of weeks. It was a very difficult work environment.
It was.
With your background in leadership, how did you go about trying to change that environment, change that culture?
Yeah, and it seems like that's what I've always been drawn to. Not an easy position. When I ran for county commission, there was a lot of financial problems. I had to run against incumbents, and I won. When I ran for county mayor, county executive at the time, the county was financially upset. There was a lot of changes that had been made. So I went into a system. I had to overhaul the whole department, and so the same thing with this. So fortunately, I've been in the position where I've always had to come in and make the changes.
There's nothing really new to you.
No, that's kind of like I thought that's the way. I thought everybody was that way.
Yeah.
And so it seems like every time I've had to, all times I've run, I've had to run against incumbents, and that's a tough way to get elected. But we've been successful, and I'm looking forward to some of the changes we're getting ready to make.
Yeah, and you've hit the ground running with several of the changes, the stuff you talked about during the campaign. And I want to get into these in detail because people may not know about all the great things that are happening in the clerk's office. But before we do get to those specific programs, just an overview, what exactly does the circuit court clerk do? I know sometimes walking around the courthouse, people get it confused with the county clerk's office.
Oh, yeah.
So people may not know exactly what it is that they do.
I wish it was called the clerk of the courts, because there's more than just the circuit court clerk that we're part of. We've got the circuit court, we've got general sessions in Clinton, we've got general sessions in Oak Ridge, and we've got juvenile courts. So I've got 4 courts I have to deal with, 4 different judges. And each one of the courts, if you're ever involved in the courts, it's the warrants, it's the petitions, it's all the filings, recordings, the collections, it just goes on and on. The paperwork is tremendous. So we're basically a clerk of a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of laws that tell us how to handle the records. And I'm still learning. Fortunately, I've got a very good staff. I'm very, very proud of my staff. We had to make a few changes, but the staff is really, they've picked up the slack, and they're really helping me learn the job myself.
Sure. And one of the ways that our audience may become involved with your office, probably most people, is through jury duty.
Yep.
You do supervise
We do.
selection of jury.
We're responsible for the jury pool. Some people always come like, I've never been called for jury duty. Put me on the list. Let me serve next time.
Oh, really? People actually want to do it.
They do. There's some.
Okay.
It's amazing. But I have no control over that. We actually call I believe it's in Nashville where the driver's license are, and they actually provide us a list of. So we have this. We just had a cycle about 6 weeks ago, and they send us about 600 names. So we send out the 600 names, and the people come and show up, and we go through an orientation process, and we select. We have I think there's 12 panels that we have, maybe 9 panels. I'm not sure how many panels we have.
They're calling the number.
So
to
yeah,
see
so you'll get selected to a certain jury panel, and basically the instructions are we give them a phone number, we give them a handbook, and we always tell them the night before you're scheduled to show up for court, call the number to make sure that the trial's still on board. But it's very simple. There's a process where if you leave your employment, the employers are supposed to let you go. We give a little stipend for showing up for work. And anytime you miss work, we give an excuse so you can, so that your employer will let you be gone. That would be absent. But it lasts for a few months, 3 or 4 months. We're very appreciative of the citizens that take the time to serve, because that is, the judges think that's a requirement. As a citizen,
Absolutely.
We need to go up there and judge our peers when we're called to do that.
Absolutely. And you may make it through the whole process without ever having to actually sit through a trial.
Most of the time, you'll get through 1 or 2 jury trials. There's very few jury trials that we have. Most of the things are pled out in court, and we don't have to go to it. But you'll be expected to serve once or twice at the most.
Sure. And going through some of the programs, before we get into specifics, you mentioned just the amount of paperwork that your office does have to generate. Is that the biggest challenge of the clerk's office running?
I think it probably is. It's and as being county mayor and even county commissioner, I've always heard about record storage. We need more record storage, and at that point in time, I'm like, we got room. It can't be that big of a deal. Buy a few filing cabinets.
Sure.
It's just not. Man, I didn't realize the records that we have. Juvenile court probably leads the ticket with the number of records. It is unbelievable the amount of records that come out of the juvenile court, and they have to be filed properly. They have to be put in our system. We have to maintain them, some of them for 10 years, some indefinitely. And so we're running out of space, and that's one of the challenges we're now trying to find a location. I know we've opened up General Sessions 2 here in Oak Ridge, and we've got some office space there that's will be vacant, and we're hoping to renovate and do some good engineering type filing systems so we can get that records in there efficiently as possible. So that's going to be the biggest challenge moving forward.
Now, you mentioned the Division II courtroom. I guess it's my understanding that construction's complete on that. I know you've not been supervising that project, but as far as supervising that court with the clerk records, is there an update on that project? Is it near completion?
Well, the building's finished, the courtroom's complete, the clerk's office are complete, but there's still problems. Every time it rains, we have to bring in more mop buckets to collect the rainwater. There's a big problem with the roof. And the problem with that is if we're wanting to put records in there, they're going to be wet, there's mold issues, and so that's going to be probably have to be addressed here in the next month or two, because it's not good. We got a nice facility, and it's just the water is just destroying it. The ceiling tiles, we're losing ceiling tiles every day, and so we've got to get that addressed.
And that's it has been an ongoing problem, but like you said, your facilities down there are beautiful.
Oh, I'm very, very pleased. It's nice to have new furniture, a new courtroom, freshly painted. They've put some windows in some of it. There's still a few things that'd been nice if they could have spent a few more dollars and upgraded. But overall, it's a nice courtroom.
Okay. Well, when we get back, I do want to get into some specifics of some changes you have made in the clerk's office. So we will get right back to that after this message break. Thanks for joining us.
Well, my name is Carmel Beatty, and this is my son Lachlan, and he's 4. He has Down syndrome. And a couple of years ago, we looked for a program for him to attend a daycare or a preschool, and we really weren't prepared for the obstacles that we encountered when we were looking for a program for him, just because he's not on the developmental level of a typical child. But we found the Early Learning Center, and without hesitation, they said they would be happy to have him, they would be happy to serve him, and he has really enjoyed coming here. He's been here almost 2 years. He's thrived in their program. They don't hesitate if they need to make adaptations for an activity for him to participate. we've always tried to just form his life around him being a typical child, that he's not different from the other kids. And that's really the way we're treated here, and it's really helped our family to also see him, you know, as just like any other child. The Early Learning Center is definitely a family, and we couldn't be happier with our services here and the time that we've spent here.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd.
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters, now in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but on a temporary cot. He is the child I am for. I am a CASA volunteer. I am you.
Welcome back to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. We're having a discussion with Rex Lynch, who is a circuit court clerk here in Anderson County. Before we get back to it, I do want to remind everybody, In and Out Maintenance, our sponsor this week. Jimmy Bouchard does great work. Please check him out, In and Out Maintenance. Like him on Facebook. We can't thank him enough for the sponsor this week. So getting back to our conversation, talked about inheriting a difficult situation, but on top of that, on top of changing the culture, which you've done, you had some very specific programs, really a platform that you ran on where you said, I'm going to do this, this, and this if I'm elected. I want to talk about the probable cause clerk program. For people that may not know what they are, you've already got that up and running in the first 90 days.
Right.
Can you tell us what exactly that is?
Well, an officer has, when they make an arrest, when they have issue their warrants, those have to be sworn in front of a judge, which is done in the past. But the law also says they can be sworn under by a clerk. And so I talked with Judge Layton, and I thought it was something that, because a lot of times the judges are busy, they're on the bench, and they've got other things to do than sign speeding citations and some of the smaller type warrants. These are very misdemeanor, very small type things. So we got with Judge Layton, and so we said, let's decide what can we do. So let's call them the probable cause clerks, because you have to determine probable cause to make an arrest.
Sure.
So we put together, and Judge helped us with this, putting together a training program. I picked 3 of my senior clerks. We sent them down through a training session. Judge Layton and Judge Miller both participated. Mm-hmm. It was a learning-based, it was an exam-based type class. And so after the class was finished, all the 3 clerks passed, and now they have a certificate, so they are our probable cause. So those 3 clerks can sign the warrants. So one reason we did it, the sheriff's office and some of the city police officers were talking about the amount of overtime. They get off their shift at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, they have to wait around to 7 or 8 or 9 or maybe 10 to find a judge or somebody to sign their warrants. So it's cost them a lot of money in overtime.
Sure.
And so I said, well, I talked to some of the chief of police, the sheriff, and said, if I bring in a clerk, say at 6:30 in the morning, your officers can come in before they leave their shift. It'll eliminate your overtime issue. And so it's been a hit. I mean, every morning, I have a clerk there at 6:30 every morning at the Anderson County Courthouse. We have anywhere from 2 or 3, sometimes as much as a dozen of the officers come in. So again, it's making their life easier. It's saving taxpayer money. It's saving overtime for the county and the cities. It's been a big hit.
And it's really expediting the process too. So you got, like you said, guys that have been up all night on their shift. They can get their warrant signed, file the paperwork, go home. I can tell you, just being around the courthouse, it has been a big hit. You got that up running pretty quick.
And there's a time frame. Once they issue that or make that arrest or give that citation, they've got to get the paperwork turned in. Well, some of the officers, you know, it may be on a Thursday, they're getting ready to go on vacation. They may be gone 3 or 4 days. It has happened. It doesn't happen regular, but officers are gone by the time they get back from vacation or whatever. The time is expired, and the warrant has to be dismissed.
Right.
So this makes it more efficient. We get the warrants turned over hopefully on a daily basis, and like I say, everybody's very pleased about it. I actually had one employee that was excited about coming into work at 6:30.
Wow.
Most people want to come in at 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So it works out very well. We've worked out to where she can come in early, leave a little bit later, or a little bit early in the afternoon. So it's been a big hit, and it's going to save lots of money and just make the whole process more efficient.
Another thing that you ran on that you're instituting sort of in the process, getting it all worked out, is the community service program for court cost. And it's my understanding, if someone's convicted of a crime, they owe court cost. They may be indigent, they can't pay the court costs on that. This is a way to where there's still accountability, they're still paying their debt to society, but they may just be able to actually work it off.
Absolutely, because you shouldn't punish somebody for being poor and not having the resources. They have, they want to take care of their family, their medicine. They've got a lot of other priorities in their life, and so court cost is way down at the bottom. But then they may go apply for, it could be a driver's license, could be for a number of things, and that pops up that they got outstanding court cost. So we're going to put it together, and it's not happened yet. We're hoping to do it in the first quarter of 2019. This community service program where they can work off their debt with some free labor, some nonprofits. I think the Little Ponderosa Zoo has been one of the biggest ones that's took the community service workers. Talking with James, it's been a success. He loves it. The people actually enjoy going up there and working with the animals. So it's better than just going picking up litter on the side of the road. If you've been to the zoo, it's a neat place to go.
Oh, absolutely.
So you get to work in a place. It's kind of a cool place to hang out.
Absolutely.
And they're getting to pay the debt off. So that's the goal of it. And so we're excited about that. But also, just back up, a big problem we're having is collections in general. Our office is a fee office. It's supposed to, all the salaries and everything's supposed to be paid from the fees we generated. So
which is different, not to interrupt, but from other offices.
Yeah, you take let's say the property assessor's office. There's no fees with that. They just go out and assess the property.
Sure.
But then the county has to fund those positions. So when they need more money for different things, they have to go to the county because they don't generate money. So this is a fee office, kind of like the county clerk's office, register of deeds office. And so I went back and looked over the last 6 years. 6 years ago, the clerk's office, the money that's from the fees and what we get to keep, we'd collected about $1 million money we had for the general fund to run our office. So in the last 6 years, it's went from $1 million down to this past year with $625,000. So this past year, they didn't even turn in enough revenue to cover the salaries.
It's a pretty big dip.
That's a big problem because it's a fee office. And my campaign promise was I'll run this off the fees. I don't want to go to the taxpayers. So the last year, the previous administration had to go back to the general fund, the taxpayers, to fund just their salaries.
It's a bailout.
So that was one of the general problems with the office. The hostile work environment. We've eliminated that. We've moved some employees around. The employees are as happy as they can be. It's a totally different environment. They're happy to be at work. They're excited about this. So now they're aggressively helping us get the paperwork so we can collect the money we need to collect. So the collection clerk, we've put one person that's going to be their primary job is just collections. And the way I relate to it is if you go to the doctor's office and you have an exam, whatever, you go home, you probably pay a copay or something. But if they don't send you a bill, you don't think, well, I've got to call Dr. Joe up. I've got to send him some money. The county, we've not been sending out any notices. So the first thing we're going to start doing is sending out invoices. Hey, you owe some court costs.
You mean that
hadn't been done? That hadn't been done. What little we collected, it just fell in our lap.
That may be one of the only places that you don't get a bill from.
I'm telling you, I was shocked. So the collection clerk is going to be very aggressive on collecting the fees, the court cost. We've actually already been to Coffee County, and next week we're going to Blount County. Tom Hatcher is the circuit court clerk there. He has got a system it's perfect. I mean, if you want to model an office, let's go see Tom Hatcher. So we're actually going next week to see what their collection office is doing. No point in reinventing the wheel.
Sure.
And so we're going to see what they're doing, the forms they're using, the techniques, the styles, and we're going to try to bring that back to Anderson County. So excited about that because listen, that position is going to more than enough pay for itself, and it'll help fund our office.
And something that you got in the works that you'd also talked to maybe briefly about in the campaign is the idea of these judicial compliance review dates for people that may be convicted of a crime.
Yep.
They have to report back actually before a judge to see actually how they're doing.
Yeah, there's no accountability.
Accountability is
it's all accountability, efficiencies. You go to court, you have court costs, you have your whatever the judge rules on it, and nobody follows back up. And it's kind of like the same thing. If you owe money, you owe court cost, and right now, if you don't show up and don't say anything, nothing happens. So we're going to have these judicial compliance, show calls, hearings, it's called different things, but have the defendants come back to the courthouse on a regular basis, and let's see how you're doing. Now, they may come back and say, listen, times are tough right now. I just, my kids are had to buy this, and so we'll have alternate. You want to do community service. Can you pay just a little bit? We'll work with you. So we're not going to browbeat people, beat them over the head to get their money, but we just want people to be accountable and pay where they can. But this is something that's definitely needed. I think they've done it in the past, and it worked real well, but I'm looking forward to starting that back up.
Well, what's it like, having been in the private sector for a while, back in the courthouse, relationships with other offices?
I can tell you right now, I'm the happiest man in the courthouse.
I believe
glad
it.
to
You're
be
always
back.
smiling.
I'm telling you, I'm back where I need to be, and it's so nice to go in, and I can tell you right now with Gary Long, Jeff Cole, Tim Shelton, and some officials like that, it's people I've known for years. We have a great working relationship. It's just nice to go in, and we work together. I can be honest, when I started in 1998, it was not a friendly environment. I didn't have a lot of friends in the courthouse, yeah. And if you're not having a good time at work, you're not as efficient. You don't get as many things accomplished. But it's a good working environment. It's a lot of good officials, and I'm just glad to be back.
And we're getting ready to wrap up here, but something I know about you that I did want to share with our viewers is your mission work. You're very passionate about this. You usually take almost, I guess, a yearly or bi-yearly trip to Alaska.
Yep.
And you were telling me about it. I just think it's so cool if you can share that.
We had a member of our church that just decided to go to Alaska, Tok, Alaska, do his mission field. Left, sold everything he had, and went out there. And our church has been very supportive of that. And so I've made 3 different trips so far to go out to Tok, Alaska, to help them with that. We go into the Indian villages. We minister to the villages. We help them with projects. It may be remodeling a house. It's amazing the number of things we can do. 2 years ago, I actually went on a river. They call it the river trip. Mm-hmm. So we went to Circle, Alaska. If you're not familiar, you can Google Circle, Alaska, and we put in the Yukon River, and we spent 14 days floating down the Yukon River with 4 of us in about a 22-foot John boat. Actually, it's Eagle, Alaska. I'm sorry. Circle, Alaska is one of the stops, but we put in Eagle, Alaska. And we spent 14 days traveling down the Yukon River, stopping and talking to different Indian villages. And there's a few residents that actually live along the Yukon River. They're just, wow. You've actually seen them on that, what's that, something Life Below Zero on Discovery. We actually met one of those gentlemen. So it was a great environment, a great trip. I'm looking forward to going back next year. So very active in my church, and I very appreciate what they do for the community.
Absolutely, and it's just that spirit to serve that, it's just anybody that's around you sees.
I'll give one last plug. I'm running out of time, but Thanksgiving we always do meals for our community, and we actually did
Second
Baptist Church in Clinton, and so we actually delivered 1,550 meals Thanksgiving morning throughout Anderson County. And we always tell people, if anybody's interested in getting a meal or knows somebody, is to contact me or Jeff Coles in the courthouse or Second Baptist Church, and we'll make sure they get on that list. But we take it to the nursing homes, we do the police departments, we actually go to individuals' homes that we know that won't have a meal for Thanksgiving, and it's just that's a lot of meals. So I actually coordinate all the routes. I have a spreadsheet, and I have you may show up, I'll tell you to be there at 9, 10 in the morning, and I've got you 25 meals, and I can tell you where to take them.
And it's hard to believe that you have 1,500 people in Anderson County. 1,500
and that's just a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
probably.
It's unreal, but it's because of people with that spirit to serve that they do have something to eat on Thanksgiving. And I appreciate all you're doing. I appreciate you joining us on this cold November night.
Glad to be here. Look forward to coming back.
Absolutely. Don't forget In-N-Out Maintenance, Jimmy Beauchard. Like it on Facebook. When we return, we are going to have the Mayor Pro Tem of Oak Ridge, just re-elected to that position, Mr. Rick Chin, have a conversation about all things Oak Ridge. Please stay with us after this message.
My name is Sabrina Sumlin, and Healthy Families Tennessee has helped me a lot as a first-time mom. They taught me a lot about newborn care, and they also helped a lot with development as my son got older. The person that comes is Leona, and she interacts with Jackson so well. And there's a book where she goes through different milestones I should be expecting and ways to deal with terrible twos or just different things, even when he first started eating solid food. And she makes sure to include advice for him as our son gets older, as well as the advice for me. In some of the simplest ways, just as having someone to talk to. When you're a stay-at-home mom and you're at home with a toddler all the time, you don't get out a lot. And so that's one just really simple way.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Introducing a new day of the week, someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
The United States Air Force has a proud history of leading our nation in embracing diversity. We've been reaching new heights for years by understanding it's our individual experiences which make us strong. You can share in this success by seeking opportunities to learn and grow as a member of a diverse team. We are the world's greatest Air Force, not because of what we do, but who we are. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
In Vietnam, we took care of each other. In combat, you look out for your battle buddy.
I'd do anything for my unit.
When things get tough, it's great to know somebody's there for you.
Every step of the way.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier, with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
Welcome back to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. We are so thrilled to have with us the newly elected or re-elected Mayor Pro Tem of Oak Ridge, Mr. Rick Chin. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Well, thanks a lot, Chad. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and get a chance to talk a little bit about my hometown.
Absolutely. And just this week, you were given the honor of being, I guess, re-elected to that position you previously served, had the
That's
confidence
correct.
of the voters and your colleagues.
Yep.
So we wanted to get you here to talk about all things Oak Ridge.
Sure.
Before we do get into that, I did want to give you a chance to give our viewers just an opportunity to find out a little bit more about you, your background.
Yeah.
We had you on before, we were joking, but there was every candidate and we couldn't really get into a whole lot.
We had a lot of people on camera that night.
A lot of people
That
in a
was a lot
small
of fun
space.
around a very small table. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. You know, I grew up right here in Oak Ridge, was born in Methodist Medical Center, lived here all my life. And it's a great honor to be able to have a chance to serve the city of Oak Ridge in the position of Mayor Pro Tem. My real job is a business person. I'm in the real estate business. My mom and dad came here in 1968, so they've been here, it'll be 50 years in August. So came and started a little body shop in Oak Ridge, fixing cars. And my dad used to work for Fisher Body up in Toledo, Ohio, and moved back down to Oak Ridge and picked Oak Ridge out of the almanac.
But, wow.
It was just, it's a
What a
really
story.
incredible
Yeah.
story that the way he ended up here.
Yeah.
But he came here and started a private body shop and started investing in real estate. And before he knew it, he was in the real estate business.
Yeah.
I was working at the city in college, and it just decided that I'd like to come in and try to figure out how to help him out. And
Sure.
I didn't have a lot of interest in the body shop business, but I did really enjoy real estate.
Yeah.
So we started focusing on real estate when I was in college, and he closed the body shop down in 1990, and I graduated college in 92 and have been working here ever since.
And if you drive down the turnpike, you'll see your signs, the R&R Properties.
Yeah.
That's your company
Yes,
there.
it is. They always say it doesn't matter what they call you as long as they call you in the real estate business.
That's exactly it. And as someone that has had such great success in the real estate business, I'm curious, you have a unique take on the industry. How is the real estate business in Oak Ridge right now, the market?
It is really good right now. And, you know, it's really hard to explain how much better it is after Main Street has come on board here in the city of Oak Ridge. And I really attribute to a lot of the better economics that we have in the city of Oak Ridge to the redevelopment of the mall, Main Street project here in Oak Ridge. For so many years, that has been a black hole right in the center of town. The appraised value of the facility was over $60 million.
Wow.
20 years ago.
Wow.
When it was sold, the appraised value had gone down to $6 million.
What?
So not only did we lose all of that sales tax money from the city of Oak Ridge, but the property tax revenue that had to be made up by all the other sales tax and property tax payers in the city of Oak Ridge was just, you know, almost unattainable.
That was just a huge black hole, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just that you just constantly had to deal with.
Yep. So we have been very fortunate to be able to negotiate with the developer for Main Street, Realty Link. I think they've done a pretty good job so far. They brought in a lot of new stores. All the stores that they brought in have really met and exceeded all the expectations and the performance that they originally put in place. And there's several new stores that are excited about coming into town, and I'd really love to get into that. I don't know when you're ready, but
absolutely.
yeah.
I want to get to Main Street, and just one more thing, sort of about your background, because I always find this fascinating when we get to talk to people. Is you're a successful businessman. What makes you want to get into public service? You look at that and say that's for me.
Well, you know, that's a really good question. My brother, who's my partner, asks me that all the time. Why in the world do you want to do that?
Sure.
You know, what do you get out of that? And you know, it's really exciting to me to be able to, especially on the local level, to be involved in local politics. I feel you can really make such a huge difference for your community in local politics. It's the closest level of elected official that you have as a citizen, and you can really affect us as a city council by just coming to a meeting. And I really enjoy when people come to the city council meetings and stand up and talk and have their 3 minutes to vent and tell us what's really on their mind. I think that's so important, and it does make a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. And it was interesting to me following the campaign. All of the current council members were reelected, which I think says a lot about the direction the city is going in.
It does. You know, we've got a really good group on city council right now. You know, Mayor Gooch and I were both elected, I guess, almost over 4 years ago, along with the rest of the folks on council. And we have such a great working relationship. You know, Mayor Gooch is a Democrat. I'm a Republican, but when you really get down to it in local politics, it really doesn't make a hill of beans what flavor or color you are when you're picking up trash and you're fixing the streets. There's not a Republican or Democratic way to fix a pothole, you know?
Absolutely, and as someone that's lived here my whole life, I've never seen a more effective council than this group as far as just brick and mortar project, getting things done, changing the environment of Oak Ridge. It's been incredible the last 4 years.
We all have our own expertise. You know, Mayor Gooch is an attorney. He knows the letter of the law, and he knows how to run a meeting. And I think he's very, very good at trying to organize folks. And he's also been really good as a leader to let us all on council follow our passion. You know, I am very connected in state and federal politics. I've got a really good relationship with the folks in the state legislature, as well as Congressman Fleischman and our 2 senators. I've worked really hard to build those relationships, and Mayor Gooch has given me that opportunity to help bring some of those connections to work here in the city of Oak Ridge. We've been very successful in bringing back grants to help the city of Oak Ridge. We've, in the past 3 years, received two $500,000 grants from the state of Tennessee to help Blankenship Field, which everyone is, roll Wildcats roll.
Absolutely.
Everyone is really excited about the new synthetic turf field that we've got going on, going in Blankenship Field, and it's starting right now.
Yeah.
We've got actually a groundbreaking a week from Friday, and I'd love to, see what's going to happen out there. And then we've got another $500,000 grant that we received from the state of Tennessee to help improve the gateway as we're coming into Oak Ridge. So it's been very successful with being able to work with the state legislature, and our congressmen and senators in D.C. have really helped bring a lot of good things here in the city of Oak Ridge.
But also a lot of hard work locally. Those grants are hard to get.
They are.
There's a lot of hard work that goes into them. So that should, for viewers at home, there's a lot of hard work going into it. I want to get to the next 4 years, but I want to look back.
Sure.
Before we do that, what would you say is your proudest accomplishment of your first term?
I think the fact that we've been able to bring Main Street on board and get it rolling. The sales tax revenue that we've had in the last year was up over $1 million in the Anderson County portion of Oak Ridge, which is a godsend. We couldn't make it without that. And it's really helped to alleviate some of the pressure that we have for the property tax rate, which, if you compare the city of Oak Ridge to other, communities, it's higher than most communities in East Tennessee. And we have to really try to, in my opinion, figure out how to continue to keep the downward pressure on that sales tax while still providing the services. It's a great place to live. City of Oak Ridge, it's incredible. We've got great schools, great parks, great everything. It's really, we got great jobs. We just got to figure out how to continue to provide those services by keeping the property tax lower.
And I want to get into Main Street. As you mentioned, incredible accomplishment, and there were a lot of naysayers.
There were,
so long, where it had been attempted so many times, and to finally get a group together that's got it done. Could you give our viewers just sort of an overall update on where the project is, where you want it to be in the future?
Sure. Well, we have completed phase 1, and that is the spot we are right now. There was a TIF, tax increment financing, put in place to help, jumpstart the new development, and that has gone along really well. All of the TIF money, it's really important for us to understand, has not been doled out yet. There are still 2 more phases left in the redevelopment of Main Street. So there are still several $1 million left, depending on the type of additional development that Realty Link brings to the table. One of those big things is the redevelopment of some apartments or residential downtown. And that's really something that we're looking at right now to try to figure out how to we've got some great shops down there. We need to continue to grow the retail development, but having more of a downtown with retail and residential is something that we're all trying to accomplish.
So that sort of will be the phase 2 aspect of it, and exciting stuff. And I encourage our viewers. I mean, I'm sure everyone has been, but it is just very impressive. The stores that seem to be really doing really well. And I do want to get into some more the specific issues with you. We are going to have to go to a quick commercial break. Please stay tuned with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sequoia Stewart. I have 2 girls that attend Girls Inc. They're twins, Sakari and Sadasia. And they attend pretty much every day of the week. They also do basketball with Girls Inc. They attend tumbling with Girls Inc. and softball with Girls Inc. They get to meet a lot of new friends. They don't exactly have to play with just friends from their school. Being with their sports program, I think that it's going to take them a long way. Just starting out the way that they've started out, and I mean, them liking it, they don't pressure, the girls or nothing like that. So the benefit for me, for them going to Girls Inc. would be giving them the opportunity to expand, meet new people, explore new things, learn new things.
All over America, we're no longer just sedentary, we're stationary. And that's bad news for your bones, because bones need weight-bearing activity to grow strong and stay strong. So get up, get out, get moving. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Never heard a word I say.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life. Somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. We are so thrilled to be joined by Mayor Pro Tem Rick Chin. We've been having a conversation about all things Oak Ridge. If we could, I know that another area that you're very passionate about, that you have a lot of expertise in, is residential development.
Sure.
What are some goals that you want to see happen over the next 4 years of your
Well,
term?
when you look at the demographics of the city of Oak Ridge, they've changed a lot. I was born and raised here, lived here, born here in 1969, and I've lived here all my life. The type of folks that live in, and the demographics that are here in Oak Ridge is a lot different than what it was when I grew up here. Good, bad, indifferent. What we see right here is a lot of the people that work in the city of Oak Ridge no longer live in the city of Oak Ridge. And you know, when I grew up here, the department heads, the leaders, everyone that actually worked at the National Lab and Y12 and K25 lived here. But now it's down to actually 17% of the people that work in the city of Oak Ridge live in the city of Oak Ridge. Just imagine what the town would be like if we raised that number to 30, 40, maybe even 50%, which I think is such an attainable goal. What would that do to the population base? Obviously, the folks that work at the lab and work at Y12 make a pretty decent living. They've got some money to spend. Think of what they would be able to do to spend money in our stores, to pay our property taxes, to help spread that, burden across a larger group of folks, to be able to provide the services that we all want to keep. I mean, we've always had great schools in the city of Oak Ridge. I've got 4 kids myself, and 3 have graduated from Oak Ridge High School. It's incredible the education that they've been able to obtain through the education system at Oak Ridge. However, a lot of the folks that graduate Oak Ridge High School don't come back. We're educating the world's workforce, but we're really not the people that grow up here. It's very few of them actually come back to live in the city of Oak Ridge. And I think that's something we need to try to figure out, how to make folks and attract people. You can't go out there and beat them over the head. You can't say, you DOE person, you've got to live in Oak Ridge or else we're not going to hire you. We've got to make them want to live here. And I think that's the key to our success, is trying to figure out what these new residents want and providing the right type of residences for them.
And that's a tall order, but you said you think it's attainable. There's some ideas you could share with us as far as what ways you may be able to begin to start that process.
Well, I think one of the first things is the retail development. For so many years, you couldn't buy a nice pair of shoes in the city of Oak Ridge. You couldn't buy, there were very few places that you could buy a pair of slacks or a tie or, a pair of cleats for your son or daughter that's playing soccer. We need to continue to grow that retail development so that people do have the opportunity to shop in the city of Oak Ridge and not have to go to Turkey Creek or wherever else in Knoxville to do all their shopping. If we continue to grow that, that's going to give people one less reason why they're choosing to mark Oak Ridge off the list. Next is trying to increase our housing. Right now, we've not had a lot of new housing starts. I think in the first 3 years of when I was in office, the overall housing starts was less than 20 of new housing starts. That's ridiculous. We need to have 200 new housing starts a year instead of 20 every 3 years. And we do have a lot of those things on board. If you look at the new development out at the far west end of town that used to be called Rarity Ridge, but now it's called something a little bit different. New housing starts out there. Incredible. I think there are over 200 new houses that are going to be built out there in the next 2 years. We've also got new residential developments and the golf course at the Oak Ridge Country Club. And on the east end as well, on the east end, on the country club out there, there's a lot of new housing starts that are on the drawing board. We need to continue to help facilitate these new developers to come into Oak Ridge, make it a little bit easier for them to kind of get the ball rolling so that they can actually make the investment and have the return in order to make additional investments.
And that's a perfect segue to my next question. It's a big picture question. As someone who's had such success in the private sector and been in the private sector so long, what does the business community need from local government? Because we've seen so many successful partnerships. What do you look for?
I think the first thing that the government needs to do is get out of the way. I think when
Amen.
when we try to go in there and micromanage business, that's when we really get in trouble. I think if we just provide the atmosphere for new development, I think the development will come. For so many years, people said, well, why, Rick, why is your family continuing to develop in Oak Ridge? It's so hard. You've got all these rules and regulations. And yes, we do. And it is really hard. But it's kept the competition down. That's not the right attitude. We need to have more competition. We need to have more people coming in and making money and making investment in the city of Oak Ridge. I'm not afraid to have additional retail, residential, commercial developers come into the city of Oak Ridge. I cherish that.
Absolutely.
I think our
It'd be
company,
better for all of us.
I think our company can stand up in front of and next to anyone and get our fair share. But the more people that are making that investment in the city of Oak Ridge, the better off we are. I mean, the old saying that the rising tide raises all boats is no more true today than it is. It's very true.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. And we just have a sort of a short period of time to get to a lot of things.
Sure,
so I
sure.
do want to jump around a bit. The city of Oak Ridge, as I'm sure many of our viewers know, has recently hired a new police chief.
It did.
Chief Robin Smith. I know you, I guess he came before the council. What were your impressions of him? How do you think he's doing? How's this transition going?
Robin's not a newcomer to the city of Oak Ridge. He's been here for several years, and he's done an outstanding job as assistant police chief. Chief Akagi, he on the outside, I think, did a really good job. Some of the internal mechanisms of the way he ran his department may not have been the best that he could have done. And we had some issues with turnover and a lot of maybe folks that weren't very happy to have a chance to work at the city of Oak Ridge and constant turnover. I think with Robin Smith, you've got someone that's from the inside, someone that knows the department, very intelligent, very capable of running a great department. And I think we're seeing that right now with our police employees. Just so happy to be here, so happy to continue to work in the city of Oak Ridge and make it a better place. So I'm really excited about having Robin on board.
He seems to be getting great reviews so far, so I'm excited
And
to
an
see.
intimidating guy. If he walks in the room, he is a tall man.
He is. He certainly is. Another thing, sort of jumping around a bit, is something me and my family attend every year is the Secret City Festival. And I know there were some changes to that, I guess, 2 years ago.
Right.
Trying different things. Where are we at with the festival? Is it sort of going back to the original idea of it, or still new things?
Yeah. When I was elected 4 years ago, the Secret City Festival was, I think, getting a little tired. And the folks on the city council were looking at a way to maybe freshen it up a little bit. We tried some new ways of doing things, and we put forth a new committee to kind of help bring some new ideas to place. We changed up the concert series to mixed reviews. There were some things that happened that were really good. There were some things that happened that weren't so good. We've kind of looked at what we've done and taken an assessment of lessons learned, and we're kind of going back to maybe some of the things that worked in the past, but still taking some of those new ideas and new concert venues and places things that we're trying to do with the concerts. I think that's really one of the things that people love the most. But they also love the petting zoo,
Sure, yeah.
and the daytime activities at the actual Secret City Festival. So I'm really excited about the future of the Secret City Festival.
Absolutely, it's a great event. I would encourage everyone to get out to it. Sort of looking ahead at your second term, how are we on funding levels for departments? Do you see any need for any kind of tax increase coming over the hill? I guess I'm asking you to look in your crystal ball.
Sure. Well, we passed a bonding act in the last city council meeting to fund the new preschool and the senior center, which are two new huge projects. The preschool is a project that's been on the drawing board for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been up to the preschool up on New York Avenue, they do some really good work, really good education system there. However, the facility is just, it's not up to par. There's a lot of asbestos issues, mold issues, things that we really have tried to continue to stay on top of, but it's just been a money pit.
Sure.
And we need a new facility. And we're finally stepped up to the plate to put that new facility over in the Scarborough community, which I'm really excited about. New investment in the Scarborough community hasn't happened in several years.
It's long overdue, yeah.
And it is a great community. I mean, if you look at the views and the type of facilities over in Scarborough, we really need to make that investment. And I think it's going to be great for the community. In addition to the preschool, we're going to also enhance the park that's in Scarborough with new basketball courts, new baseball, new tennis. So it's going to be a great investment in our community.
And last question here, we've got around 90 seconds left.
Sure.
Sort of a big question. So it came up a lot during the campaign is council's relationship with the Department of Energy.
Sure.
How would you categorize that? What do you want to see moving forward?
Communication, I think, is the name of the game with the Department of Energy. In the past, that communication has not been as good as I think it should be. We're working tirelessly to try to help bridge that gap and to help communicate and bring, the Department of Energy brings a lot of money, a lot of jobs. It's not something that we want to go away as a city. However, there's some things that they're doing that maybe if they would just tell us what's going on, we could help be a better partner. And I think one of the examples is what happened on Pine Ridge when the spallation neutron source the UPF decided to put in new power lines along Pine Ridge. We found out 2 days before they were going to cut down all these trees on Pine Ridge what they were going to do. Well, we were able to stop that and maybe help reshape the way that new power line was going in. However, if we would have just known that they were talking about this 2 years before, I think we could have come to a much better decision. So that's one example of, I think, one way that the City Council is really trying to help facilitate that new communication with the Department of Energy.
Absolutely, and I know that's what you talked about in the campaign, is just building on what's already there.
Yeah.
So, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thanks a lot, Chad.
We really do appreciate it. And
it's gone so fast. I feel like we just sat down.
Exactly. Last time it was so quick, but we do appreciate you're welcome to come here anytime and talk about the great things that are happening on City Council.
Love to come back.
Thank you so much. And I do want to thank again our sponsor, In-N-Out Maintenance. We do appreciate them. Jimmy Bouchard, please like them on Facebook. Give them a call for all your maintenance needs. We will be back live next Thursday. We sure appreciate you tuning in. Have a good evening.
Good night.
In Vietnam, we took care of each other.
In combat, you look out for your battle buddy.
I'd do anything for my unit.
When things get tough, it's great to know
somebody's there for you.
Every step of the way.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier, with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a CASA volunteer. I am you.